guys, Theresa Joy. I have the amazing opportunity to speak to Tarana Burke, the woman who started the movement Me Too. Not the hashtag Me Too, as she explains in this video, but the movement Me Too. Sorry, hair. So she started this movement over 10 years ago. She is the program director for the Brooklyn-based Girls for Gender Equity. Its goal is to empower young women of color. But this movement actually started with her in 1996 when she was a camp director after a night of girl bonding. She was pulled aside by one of the young girls who then told her that she was being sexually abused in her home. And as the girl walked away, Tarana said nothing at that time, but she explained how she wished she had said me too. And that was the genesis of the movement. Now, so again, the movement is to help young women of color who have survived sexual abuse, assault, and exploitation. She says it's not a viral campaign to her, but it is, in fact, a movement. She says, on one side, it's a bold declaration, a statement saying, I am not ashamed and I'm not alone. On the other side, it's a statement from survivor to survivor that says, I see you, I hear you, I understand you, and I'm here for you. So this is my interview with Tarana. She talks about some things that she feels people don't understand about sexual abuse and assault in the United States. So take a listen. She's an amazing, incredible woman. So thank you, Tarana, for everything that you have done. Sorry. And that you continue to do in this country, and for all the girls that you work with and all the other women and girls that you inspire and give hope to. Please follow me at my own Facebook page. I will be posting all my interviews, all my lives on that page for the time being. Really amazing things are going to be happening in the future, but I also will be posting them on my own YouTube page. Keep fighting.
Gave me this. I'm with Tarana Burke. She started the hashtag Me Too.
Work. I didn't start the hashtag.
The work Me Too. Was it 2007?
2007, yes.
Okay, so do you want to just explain to us about your work and then maybe about what people don't understand about sexual abuse and violence in the world today?
Yeah, I think if anything, people don't, a couple of things. One, people don't understand that there's a spectrum to gender-based violence or sexual violence, right? People try to separate harassment from abuse, from assault. And if you look at the whole spectrum, sexual harassment is sort of an entry point to sexual, more intense sexual violence. And all of it is sexual violence. Everybody who has experienced sexual harassment, those people need to be counted and validated too. I just want to be extra clear about that, because I feel like people are trying to say, well, this is not so bad. This is, this is only like somebody saying something to you or somebody touching you, as opposed to being like assaulted. But one gives entry point to the other. So I wanted to make that point. There's a spectrum to gender-based violence, and we need to understand that the whole spectrum results in people being survivors, results in survivors. So we shouldn't under or downplay sexual harassment in any way.
Like, what is your work? What do you do? And also, well, yeah, let's start with that.
Yeah. So, Me Too, the hashtag taking off was a complete surprise. And so it has sort of reshaped what the work is for me now, and what the work the folks who work with me are in this campaign, because I think the most important priority now is to hold space for survivors in this moment who maybe have been bombarded with Me Too questions or not even questions. Oh, it's Flint. Yeah. So our immediate work is to try to hold space for survivors after the sort of the rising of Me Too. I think people don't really understand what happens when you disclose publicly, and so we want to sort of give people space to process what that means, what it looks like, what they might be experiencing and feeling, And we also want to get people to, a lot of people are looking like, what can I do? And so we are doing a series of webinars. One is about how to support survivors in this moment, what the survivors need. Others are about like, what does community action look like around ending sexual violence? We're going to talk about child sexual abuse. We're going to talk about how to talk to children about sexual violence. We'll talk about legislation like people can support. So we really just want to lay a roadmap for people for like what to do now. So the hashtag has gone viral. We have the numbers. We see the, like sort of empirical data. And I don't know that we have to keep, I encourage people to tell their stories because they're powerful and it's cathartic for people. But in terms of the work is not in telling the stories. The stories are sort of the start, right? Once you tell those stories, it just builds up what we're doing in this work. It just adds credibility to what we're doing. The work is finding ways to interrupt and end sexual violence. And the work is finding ways to support survivors of sexual violence and what they need, whether they want to be active in their community or they just want to have lives that are whole and worthy. And so those are the two main things that we lifting up as the Me Too movement.
Do you think that we can, sexual violence has been around for as long as humans have been around. Is there a way that we can lessen sexual violence? Is there something we can do in this world to not prevent it, but to make sure it doesn't start at its roots? What would that be?
Shifting the culture. The only thing to do to prevent, that's why I say prevent and interrupt, because the only thing we can do is shift the culture. We're talking about systems, really, right, at the root of this. This is not about individual bad people. This is about systems of patriarchy, right, power structures that allow sexual violence to flourish. And so those same systems allow other oppressions to flourish. And so we would have to work collectively. That's why our movements, like you just said, we fight on is so many fights. All of them overlap and intersect because ultimately we are trying. These are systems of oppression that we have to dismantle, and they start to chip away at other things, right? And so if I'm fighting to end sexual violence, that's also going to affect racial violence, right, and racial justice. It's going to fight environmental justice, like because those systems that are in place to oppress. They're in place to create, let the rich get richer and that kind of stuff. So it's really a collective fight, and everybody should be a part of it in some way. And so we're trying to lay a roadmap for people for that.
Do you think that this is, it's a horrible time. Like the saying is, there's great chaos before great change. Do you think that this is a great change right now? Is there something hopeful coming from all this? It seems like there's a lot. I'm only 40 years old, but in my time, I've never seen anything. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I've never seen anything like this. Do you think this is the beginning of something, a brighter future?
I think so. I hope so at the very least. It's a tide changing that has just been amazing, right? We've never talked about sexual violence this publicly before in mainstream media. And so I'm hoping we can take advantage of this and turn it into something that is, that's what I'm saying, grounded in work so it's more than just a moment and it's a movement.
You're leading that and you're inspiring people. And I looked at what you're doing and thank you so much. No, thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, go get your plane. Can I get